Welcome, everyone. I want to be the first, but I won't be the last to welcome you to joining this DECODE SRI dinner that we're co-hosting together to welcome our very special guest, Casey, who's already here. I know a ton of you have already had the chance to meet him. My name is Shwo. For anyone who doesn't know me, you can remember like shushing someone and saying, whoa, she's awesome, Shwo. Hopefully that makes it a little bit easier to remember. I run a venture fund called IOVC, where we focus on investing in what we call fractional founders. These are folks who are in the earliest stages of starting a company where they haven't yet gone full time. So I know a number of you in the audience have started out as fractional founders, where you were in a full-time job, came across a really painful personal problem or a business problem at the company. And instead of quitting cold turkey, you kind of figure out how to iterate and solve the problem. And then once you land on something real, then you go turn that into your full-time thing. And of course, if it's science-driven, a ton of SRI projects start out that way. Or if it's more commercially driven, you could do this in a B2B or enterprise setting. So as a former founder, now investing in founders and teaching founders, I feel like it's always a great community to be involved with here at DECODE because we just have founders all throughout. So that's really the vibe that we're hoping to set for everybody tonight, which is founders helping each other out in different parts of the journey. Some of you are earlier along, some of you are later along, but hopefully this will be the first of many connections to come. Thank you so much for joining us. So hopefully everybody knows who Casey is at this point. This is really meant to be more of a casual conversation, but I just thought that we would start with some ground setting. So Casey, I just thought we would start with a brief intro of your background because you've had such an interesting and dynamic background across multiple companies and different roles. So instead of me telling everybody about your background, maybe you could share your story in your own words.
Yeah. Well, I didn't invent the mouse, so that's you guys, and thank you for that fascinating history there. I trained as the common piece in my story is that I've changed careers multiple times. So I trained as a chemical engineer, went into software engineering, built supply chain software. Somewhere along the line, got into a company in Menlo Park, which was called Facebook. We didn't know where it was going. So actually, it was in Palo Alto at that point in time. Spent a few years in Facebook building supply chain systems. Shifted there to building software for people and for collaboration because we felt that was a really good problem to solve. And then I got interested in another company in Palo Alto, which was Palantir at the time. And the idea of Palantir was I went in to run IT and information security. And cyber just seemed to be a very existential problem that I wanted to understand more. So that was a different change in my career. Spent about 5 years in Palantir. We can talk more about that and maybe more during dinner, however it works for you all. And then went to Google to run several engineering teams at Google around people stuff, around safety systems, around just legal. So there were a set of systems that I ran in Google, and took another turn in my career where I joined Roblox. Any gamers out here? Okay, there you go. So I joined Roblox and was, I'm not a gamer myself, but got introduced to the world of gaming, where we brought multiple roles together, which was people, systems, information security, and then how do you think about space? The idea that the most valuable asset in any company is the people in the company, and how can you create conditions for them to thrive? And more recently from Roblox, I joined OpenAI as their chief people officer, again, pursuing the same notion of what's going to happen with AI? How does work change? How do we, both lead that change within OpenAI, but also paint a very optimistic and, at least I feel very optimistic about it, but share this optimistic view of what science and technology can do with the rest of the world. So that's what I'm doing right now. So multiple careers, and I've generally said yes to any fun opportunity that has come in front of me.
So a couple of follow-up questions to that. For one, I remember when we were last chatting, you mentioned that your last role at Roblox was very unique because it was overseeing people and systems, whereas most of the time those two roles are separate. Mm-hmm. And you also mentioned that that was kind of your first people role. Mm-hmm. You thought that might have been your last people role, which it didn't turn out to be. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it was actually my second people role. My first was I did run the people team in Palantir for some time.
Yeah.
But that was the minor, not the major. Roblox was the first major people role. And at that time, the reason for joining Roblox was Dave Baszucki, who's the founder of Roblox, had this intuition that people is the first product that we're building. I'm using product in a simple way of it as if you get people right in the company, everything else follows. And the notion was, if that is true, then we need to think about it with the same technical rigor and product mindset that we bring to engineering, that we bring to product management. And that idea was appealing to me because at Facebook or at Palantir, it's not the company as much as the people who are there in the company who just enabled outstanding outcomes. So this notion of bringing engineering rigor to a people function was fascinating to me. And I thought like that was going to be, I'll be fit for n equal to 1, which is Roblox's only company which will probably think about that. I was cool with that. But it turns out that every role as we go into the future is fundamentally a technical role. And then the technical role is applied to a particular domain, but technology has become such a common denominator for all roles.
And I want to ask, well, there's a couple prompts that I had already sent out to folks that I want to ask you about. But before that, I thought this could be an interesting way. There is what is top of mind for all of us that we've already asked about in applying to this dinner. I'm curious, what has been top of mind for you lately in your role? Because I'm sure things with OpenAI for the past couple months have just been so dynamic. So what occupies your mind share these days?
Yeah. So I find I was fortunate to have been in the Valley for about 26 years. So I just think this is a phenomenal place to be there for innovation. I saw the Y2K trend, which was literally more of fixed bug in our system because we didn't think we need 4 digits. But then what was really happening was the internet wave at the time. And you knew that the internet wave was real because you could be in some place. I grew up in India. You could be in some place in India. And I still remember looking at a laptop and seeing Yahoo, saying, wow, like you mean like I can just go and explore the whole world? And this was just like mind-blowing to me, right? To say the whole world is there in a device for you. And then I think the internet wave was just a phenomenal wave, and we're still seeing that wave last. I believe that mobile was another really good wave. I think the notion that you can do so much from your phone was not evident to me until we started seeing the apps coming in iPhone. And now we take it for granted, be it DoorDash or Uber or any of that, or Airbnb. But just this productivity boost that we've got through mobile is amazing. A less boring but an important wave was cloud computing. It was really hard for people who were in the pre-cloud computing era. You have to go stand up your data center, and that's like such a big fixed cost. It's such a deterrent for and what cloud did was it just equalized and said, like, you don't need to worry about the infrastructure, we got you. Just go build the product and just apply software engineering. What you need is software engineers for many of the tech products. I tried really hard to understand Bitcoin. I never got it. So if there are crypto folks over here, I'm sorry. But that didn't feel like a real wave. But connecting it back to your question on what's occupying my mind now, I think that the wave in AI is bigger than all these waves together. Because if you think about each of these waves, they were in some sense, let me take social as an example, they were in some sense trying to find a way to harness human attention. And human attention by definition is limited, right? Number of humans time the time that you have in the world. But what we're right now doing is actually building intelligence. And I don't want to say human intelligence because intelligence can go beyond that. And I think like that's incredibly positive if it's harnessed right. And hence this wave is so big. So what's occupying my mind, sorry for this long context to get to the answer, what's occupying my mind is like, how can this intelligence be used in a way that it is very positive for the world, and it creates this awe and fascination that we all have when we see some aspects of technology. To just seal the last point, just a few weeks back, my 8-year-old was incredibly excited about something that happened in technology. Any idea what it was? She was like, we gotta see it. It's going to be, I'll give you a clue. She's like, it's in 2 minutes. It's 10, 9, 8. No, Artemis. Yes, exactly. So there's something about Artemis and the space launch and like people going into space and coming back, which just captures human imagination on, wow, science is so fascinating. And I think that's the change that we need to have with AI, is that science is actually so fascinating.
Speaking of the advancement of technology, I know one of the recurring threads that a lot of folks had questions around was just with things changing so quickly, how do we continue to lead effectively when literally the nature of work is changing and how you're doing the work is changing and you're learning every day on the job? How do you be an effective leader?
I think so what's the biggest quality? I'll try to maybe slightly change it. Like what
Please.
causes one to be a good leader is the biggest quality that I look for in people when I, say, for instance, interview them, which is, are you incredibly curious and are you incredibly humble? right? If you have these two going, it's a fantastic place to be. So I don't think there has been a better time for being curious. I mean, you shared the slide of what did ChatGPT say about SRI, but you can take it in so many. There's no concept right now which you cannot learn much more easily by using any of these tools. Like how many of you have seen the 3 blue, 1 brown videos of math? Yeah, it's phenomenal videos in case you have not seen it. You can now have models create things like that. You can take a concept and say, explain this to me. So our ability to learn anything is amazing. So the way you lead effectively and learn is to harness this curiosity that you have, right? And I think that's the key thing is it's not that I try to find time to learn. I just feel really excited about like, wow, what a fascinating time of learning we are in. I get up early in the morning, the whole house is quiet. I make my cup of coffee. I'm like, boy, I'm going to learn now. This is so fascinating.
Yeah, which is what actually makes, I think, our time as builders so exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm biased about this, but it almost means now with the pace of technology, we all have to be constantly learning, constantly fractional in some way,
Yeah.
because there's always going to be our full-time job, and then there's all this new problems that we're going to have to learn how to solve on the spot.
Yeah.
That the pace just wasn't ever this quick before.
The pace wasn't there, but also the tools you have is like just phenomenal. Like I have this strange guilt that has come right now, which is I know I can deploy a bunch of agents to do my work. If they go to sleep in the night, I'm like, I'm wasting time, right? So I want to get up and see them having done work. These kind of capabilities were not there, right? So I think it's a fascinating time to be curious, to be a learner, to find a way to add value to the world.
Absolutely. I want to follow up with something because you shared this actually at the DECODE conference where you spoke just a couple months ago, where I thought you put it really succinctly. You said, to be effective, you also have to hold two opposing ideas in mind at the same time. And I want to double click on that, which is this idea of nothing is too big for me and nothing is too small for me, which you've mentioned in the curiosity and humility piece. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
So this was something that I saw at Palantir. So what we used to do at Palantir, and I think this was one of the geniuses of the company. I mean, I know there are many controversial bits about every company, but I'm going to harness the positives. One thing that Palantir did really well is take people who are very early in their career and just give them amazing opportunity. And we started thinking about like some of them do exceptionally well and some of them don't. And what's the difference? And it came down to holding like these two things that Shiva pointed out is you have to hold that nothing is too hard or too big for me, right? And which means that you're thrown into a problem of national importance, of cyber, of like helping a meaningful drug discovery research, and you got to believe that I have the tenacity, ability to go and crack that. At the same time, you have to hold that no job is too small for me. So we would find these like amazingly intelligent people, extremely capable, willing to do whatever is needed to help with the situation. Like I had an engineering leader. We were doing something very mission critical, and he didn't have a role. So he came and said, "I noticed that all of you are a little tired. Can I go and do coffee runs for you all? I don't have anything to do over here, but let me go do coffee runs for everyone." So this ability to hold that I can solve a very hard problem, but nothing is above me, nothing is below me, and I think that combines curiosity with humility. This is the way it is expressed. So this was one of the things that I thought was, and I think I posit that it's probably true for many founders as well, is that you're trying to say, I'm going to bring this idea to life, which I really think is very valuable for the world. But guess what? Like the micro kitchen is broken in my office right now. I'm going to go fix it. Like nobody else is there to fix it, right? So this ability to do that is, I think, unique.
And I ask you about that because I think that's such a core component of building culture and healthy culture from a very early stage. Are there other components to building culture that enables high performance teams? Especially because I know, Casey, you're by nature a very optimistic person and you want to build the world towards a better place. And so what are components that are important in building a healthy culture that allow us to all build effectively?
Yeah, it is somewhat useful to like maybe anchor on a definition of culture. And I like a definition that I heard at Google, which stayed with me for a while. And the definition was as simple as culture is what people do when you don't tell them what to do, right? So it is not the principles, right? It is not the values. It is what people experience and what they would do when no one is telling them what to do. Now, the aspects of really building a culture that is right, I don't have any special wisdom other than what we all know to be truly the best of human values and living that to the best you can. It doesn't mean making mistakes. It means being very transparent with your mistakes. It doesn't. It is like some version of like, I'm really curious, I want to solve this problem. It is how we comes naturally to you versus I, right? So the people, how you use words that, and these are not like, you don't fake it, it just comes naturally to you. It's like our team, our company, our product. And the more you start looking at like things that we all resonate deeply as good human values, high integrity, high transparency, doing what is the right for others, having a mindset of service, just being like being a fun person to be with, not being an ass, having exactly these all these just like spread. There's an osmotic effect of all of this. So there's no, I think it's literally take the best of human values that you get inspired by. You're in your life, you're trying to live them. And in the process of working in a company, you are given many challenges to be true to the values you believe in. And as you live them with the rest of your people, and you celebrate people who do the hard things, that automatically shapes the culture of your company.
I'll ask Casey one last thing before we all grab some hot food and sit down and start open discussion with everyone. And I mentioned this because I want to ask this last piece because Casey, you're in one of the most important roles, really, because you're building one of the most important products that's shaping this entire AI era. And you're building arguably what is even more important than the product, which is the people who actually build the product, that then shape the culture and our experiences in terms of daily interactions with AI. And so as you're thinking about this, I know in your previous role, when we caught up, you always shared things like how Roblox cares a lot about who are the people that you spend the most time with. Let me go spend time with those people to figure out who you are. Those are some effective ways to help you evaluate if this is the right person. How are you thinking about people and attracting talent and retaining some of the best talent similarly and or differently now in your role now at OpenAI?
Yeah. So it's a very tough question, but I'm going to try to synthesize the multiple things that you're doing into a few points. There is, of course, the we select talent for some core capability they have towards advancing science, research, or engineering, right? So that is that's always like a filter for the pool that is there. So we believe we attract the best researchers, the best engineers. Then on top of that, there is a layer of how much are you in it to do something for yourself, or are you in it to do something for something bigger than yourself? And more people have that orientation of, I'm in it to do something for something that's bigger than myself, then that tends to be a good way of selecting like the right people. And I think the third thing, which I believe is a differentiator for OpenAI, which is we do have an optimistic view of where AI is going to go, but that doesn't make us like we take safety and all of that very seriously. But the major arc is optimism, right? And I think it's not about we are like, hey, we're headed to doomsday and we are the ones who can save it. We are like, there's a very optimistic fascination with science. Be really good stewards of it and make sure that the minor act, that safety acts is also like equally important. But that people are very optimistic about what science and technology can bring are people who get drawn to OpenAI.
The very last rapid fire question for you, for those of founders who wanted to be here but couldn't join us for the dinner, is a lot of them are early stage founders. Now that OpenAI is iterating literally at startup speed, what advice do you have for builders out there to continue to stay on top of things?
Continue to stay on top of things. I think you have to be okay that you're not going to be on top of things. There's so much happening in the world that you don't want to put the pressure on yourself. I'm always a fan of your product is what is what your product management starts after you release the product. It's not before. So like ship early, ship often. There are so many products now available for you to amplify yourself. I think you can just create so much value to the world. In some ways, to tie it back to cloud computing made infrastructure something that you don't have to think about. AI is making so many other skills things that you don't have to think about, because it's building the intelligence layer for you. So be very thoughtful about like the type of company you're building, and just build really fast. It's a fantastic time to be a founder.
Couldn't agree more. It's the best time to be a founder. Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Casey. Let's do the round of applause for Casey first.
Thank you.
Thank you.